Hey YouTube, Common Collector here, and today I have a very fun, exciting deck profile for you guys today. So today we're going to be doing Swordsoul Tenyi. So I've been playing around with this deck a lot lately, playtesting how I like the ratios and all this stuff. So I will say that I do have a little bit different build than a lot of other people out there. But I do kind of like doing that when it comes to profiles. That way you guys can see sort of different ways to run the deck, how your ratios can be changed and whatnot. So there will be a combo video coming out later, so make sure that you guys pay attention for that. Also, don't forget to be mindful of when the Millennium Puzzle live stream is going to be happening. I believe it's going to be on January 2nd sometime. I will make an announcement the day of when Tyler and I know more. But yeah, again, if you guys are watching this before January 2nd of 2022, you guys can definitely go ahead and check that out. But without any further ado, don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already, and let's get on into the profile. So, of course, we are starting with our 3 copies of Mo Yi. I absolutely love this card. This card is so good to just to be able to use this when you normal or special summon to reveal a Sword Soul, and then in your hand, and then you're able to get your token, do a synchro summon, and then when this is used for synchro material, you are able to draw a card, which is also nice because you can chain block your Chi-Chao, which is super duper cool. We have our 3 copies of Long Yun. Obviously, you need to be playing these 2 at 3 of, because you always want to see them. So with this card, you reveal this in your hand, basically, discard another Sword Soul, and then or a Worm Monster, then you special summon this from your hand, and then you get your token on summon. When you synchro this, you deal 1200 damage. So he does help in time. It does come up quite a bit. We have our Taya, which is arguably, like it's not worse than the rest of these, but as far as like this card takes up your normal summon usually, so you don't want to be playing too many normal summons in the deck with like your Mo Yi and whatnot. But with the Taya, with this card, you banish a Sword Soul card or a Worm Monster from your graveyard to get your Sword Soul token. Then you do your Synchro play. And then when this card is sent away for a Synchro summon, you basically get to Foolish Burial a Sword Soul card or a Worm Monster from deck to graveyard, which is super duper cool. Just to be able to get that free dump to graveyard. Setting up usually your Tenyi plays, but you can also dump really cool stuff like Protos and whatnot, as long as you can bounce Protos back to your hand. We have our 3 copies of the Incredible Ecclesia, which is basically like an honorable mention Sword Soul card. But yeah, with this card, it's like Cyber Dragon effect. If your opponent has more monsters than you do, you can special summon this from your hand. And then also as a quick effect, tribute this card, and then you're able to special summon a Sword Soul straight from the deck, which is super duper awesome. Not much more explanation needed there. We have our 3 copies of Ashuna for the Tenyi package. I've thought of cutting this down to 2, but honestly, you just really want to see this card because it is a free special summon onto the field, and then another free special summon from the graveyard, which is really cool. Then we have our 2 copies of Vishuddha. This card is super good just to, like, you can generally, like, use Infinite Impermanence or something to stop the effect of like a DPE or something, and then you can just bounce stuff back to the hand, which is really cool. We have our 2 copies of Adhara, and then I am now playing the 1 copy of Shathana. This is a new edition, so I guess I should mention that also I am playing 45 cards in the deck. So like I said, my ratios are just a little bit different than other people. The reason for that is that I went to a big tournament where I live, and I was actually able to do pretty darn good with this deck. And I was running 41 cards. I basically had the deck all put together. Then my Protos finally came in the mail, and then I was able to play it at 41. Then I added in a few new things. I added in the Shathana. I added in the Heavenly Dragon Circle quick play spell card, and then I also added in a 3rd copy of Pot of Desires just to be able to make sure that I can get through the deck quicker. I was not playing 3 Pot of Desires, in all the other tournaments that I've been playing in, so it just made sense to add that 3rd Pot of Desires. I never really missed having that 3rd one. I was always seeing Pot of Desires at all of the tournaments that I've been going to. So basically adding in the Shathana and then the Heavenly Dragon Circles, which was making the deck a little bit more Tenyi focused, it did make sense to add in that third Desires finally. So that's how I got to 45 cards, but I've really been liking the ratios, and at heart is just super duper good, because if you do end up banishing like your Protos for your, like if you use like Protos to banish for your Longyon cost or your Taya cost, then you're actually able to bounce that resource back to your hand, and then you can go into Protos, which is super duper cool. We have our 2 copies of Ash Blossom. I'm only playing this at 2 because I don't want to see it too much. Again, I am playing this deck at 45, so some of these more reactionary hand traps aren't as good. That's why I'm playing more board-breaking hand traps and other board-breaking cards. Because like Nibiru and Ash Blossom is still really good. You always want to see that. But if you use Pot of Desires during your turn and you're going second, well, if you draw in with Pot of Desires into a Nibiru, that doesn't really help you. Ash Blossom again doesn't really help you. So I'm only playing 2 copies. Hopefully you see it. If you were going second, hopefully you see it in your opening 5 cards, but if not, then it's not that big of a deal. Our 1 copy of Arch Nemesis Protos is going to be our last monster of the main deck monster of the deck, so not much explanation needed there. Then we have our 3 copies of Emergence, our 1 copy of Summit for our Monster Reborn. Then my ratios for this, we have 2 copies of the Heavenly Dragon Circle, and then 2 copies of Vessel of the Dragon Cycle. I am thinking of maybe cutting this to 1 or something, and then just sort of testing. Maybe I like this card at 3, but I actually do like playing these at 2 and 2. Again, a lot of the cards in this deck, the things that are hard once per turns, I really don't want to see more than 1 copy of them, so I am fine with playing a lot of these at 2, and then hopefully I only banish 1 copy of each thing off on the Pot of Desires. So overall, I've really been liking this because you have the Heavenly Dragon Circle to be able to like add your Protos directly from your deck to your hand, and then also just a quick play to avoid interruption, like Infinite Impermanence and Effect Veiler that depend on stuff to be face up on the field. You can just slap this down, get your monster off the field, their effect resolves, and then you get like Protos or something. But Vessel, I think, is still just too good to not play. Because if you do have like Vessel and 1 Tenyi in your opening hand, you do have full combo, so I think it's really important. Again, for board breaking cards, I like 3 copies of Forbidden Droplet, our 3 copies of Pot of Desires, which I mentioned already, then 2 copies of Triple Tactics Talents. Honestly, these two cards at the Star Charity were really insane. It seemed like every time I used Triple Tactics Talents, I drew into Desires, then used Desires, and vice versa. Like a lot of the times I would use Desires, and then I would pick up my Triple Tactics. So I really like that. The synergy is really cool. You basically just get to like flush through your deck super duper hard, and then your opponent loses advantage very quickly. We have our 1 copy of Called by the Grave just to stop hand traps that we don't want to be going through. We have our 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. Again, just like the Forbidden Droplet, these are the board breaking cards that can be reactionary if your opponent's going first, or Forbidden Droplet more to just break boards. But then also just really good for setting if you do go first. We have our 2 copies of Blackout to be able to pop stuff like an Icarus attack, or just to get our special token. And then we do have the 1 copy of Imperial Order. Again, this is a 45 card build, so stuff like Imperial Order I was thinking of leaving in the side deck, but it is just too good to leave out. The Blackout in here, playing 2 Blackout is really important. Again, also, especially if you're playing the copy of Shathana, because Shathana, what this card adds into the deck is that Blackout is really good for popping stuff, and then you can get the benefit off of Shathana. And then also, if you do get that token out onto the field with your Blackout, then Shathana being a level 4 non-tuner is your best benefit that you want to go for there. So I think that's about all of the deck theory, the deck building process that I have to talk about this. That was really important to me to sort of talk over what hand traps and stuff I left out, what I kept in, and then why the ratios are the way that they are. I really do think that the 2 Heavenly Dragon Circle and the 2 Vessel are really solid. I have been liking it a lot. Yeah, so I don't think I would change up too much in the main deck. I think I'm going to run with it like this for a while. Getting on into the extra deck, we have our 2 copies of the Chi-Chao. This card is super duper important to be playing at 2 because you always want to see this card onto the field, and you always will. This card hits the board so darn frequently. But basically what this card does is that when it's summoned, you're able to add from your deck add from your hand, or you get to banish a Swordsoul card from your deck. So if you do actually just want to get a token straight to the field, you can banish like your Blackout straight from the deck. But then also with this card, the main thing is that you're going to be able to add from your deck to your hand anything that you need. Generally, I'm adding like a Longyun or something to my hand if I don't have it already. That way I can go for a 12 play. And then again, this card gets chain blocked with like all of the synchro plays that you do with the Swordsouls, because they all have effects when they're used as synchro material, which is really, really cool. And then also this is just a once per turn monster negate, which is super duper awesome. We have our 1 copy of the Cheng Ying. We have our other 12, which is the Baron de Fleur. These are the only 12s that I'm playing, and you guys will see why a little bit later. We do have 2 copies of the Baxia. People are cutting this down to 1, and I don't agree with it. Honestly, playing 2 copies of this is super duper good. 1 copy of the Yazi, just for whenever it comes up. We have our 1 copy of Chao Feng, so this rounds off our Yang Zing package. It's just really fun to be able to play all of these Yang Zings, Tenyi, and then also Swordsouls. This is actually my first Worm deck that I've ever played, so I really like it. We have our 1 copy of the Adamancipate Arisen Dragite. A lot of people are also cutting this and going for other plays. My theory behind this is that you generally end up playing Baron de Fleur and the Chi-Chao in your opening play, and then if you just have an extra extender, again, like with that Shathana and then a token, the Dragite, the Dragite is really, really helpful. So I think that it still just makes sense to go into that rather than any of these other cards. We do have the Draco Berserker of the Tenyi. And then for our Tenyi package, this is the reason why I'm not playing any more level 12s. I was also playing Shen Shen in here before also, but yeah, 3 Monk of the Tenyi is actually really important. I have done plays where even in my first turn, I've ended up going into all 3 copies of it because it has been relevant. Otherwise, you want 2 copies for your opening turn, and then you want to have your 3rd copy for backup plays, which is pretty important. Then we have our 1 copy of the Shaman of the Tenyi, and then our 1 copy of the Draco Berserk or Draco Masters of the Tenyi. This card is super underrated. I play tested this a lot at home against like my Drytron decks and my heroes and stuff, and this card was really, really nice for breaking up boards. You sort of use like Forbidden Droplets or Infinite Impermanence to negate the effects of monsters that could interrupt your plays, and then you just go into the Draco Masters and then just blow up like 2 to 3 or whatever, 4 even monsters on your opponent's side of the field. It's really, really crazy. This card is super duper good. So I really, really like the ratios I got. Again, it's nice to play some of the stuff like the Ruddy Rose Dragon and all that stuff, but overall what these cards get to you is that these are cards that you can go into every single duel. And then with like Ruddy Rose, Shen Shen, Crimson Blader, those are more for specific matchups and you can't always get to them. And if you're going to go for Shen Shen, you're basically taking something like Baxia or Dragite or even a Chi-Chao and making Shen Shen with the Adhara. So it's like you're using up a resource. You're using your Adhara, which is a really a pretty good resource, but also you're also using your Chi-Chao or Baxia on the field to go into that level, that Synchro 9 play. So overall, I don't like it. So that's why I wanted to play this this package, which can be rounded off and helps you a lot more often. Getting on into the side deck, it's not very like strict or anything, but I'm playing 3 copies of Droll and Lockbird, pretty standard. 3 copies of Nibiru. This card is pretty good just for if you're going second, and then also it's just super fun to even try with your Adamancipate or Dragite when you're going, and if you go first, you know you can set this up. If you're going second and your opponent sets up a board and you didn't see the Nibiru in your opening hand and you didn't get to Nibiru them, then you just can try to go into Dragite and then sift through the deck and see if you can pop stuff. It's really, really fun whenever that comes up. We have our 2 copies of Crossout Designator, just in case you're in the mirror match or there's big hand traps that you just can't get around. But mainly this is for the mirror match. I don't think I would ever really side that in for like a matchup where I was getting hit by like Ash Blossom too much. We have our 2 copies of Cosmic Cyclone and 1 copy of Harpy's Feather Duster. 3 copies of Evenly Matched, which just pairs so darn nicely with the Forbidden Droplet in the deck. And then we have our 1 copy of Red Reboot to stop the big trap cards, namely like Harpy's Featherstorm. But anyways, guys, I think that's going to do it for today's deck profile. Again, this was a competitive deck profile, so I will be doing over on the Patreon the How to Destroy the Meta series. So that's basically a series where I take these meta decks and then I show you which hand traps and stuff are, or other interruptions like Imperial Order and stuff, are really, really solid against this. Obviously, like Token Collector and whatnot will be discussed in that video. So if you guys would be interested in that, definitely go ahead and check out the Patreon. Just joining at the $2 level gets you access to so many videos. And then there's all kinds of other perks. I did just explain all of the perks in another video last week where I was talking about all of the new perks that I'm adding and just announcements for the giveaway for the holiday stream, which is coming up soon. So again, go ahead and check out that video where I was doing all of the announcements the other day. But anyways, guys, I don't want this video to go on too long, so thank you guys so much for watching. Again, don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. Check out the Patreon if you guys are interested. All of the links down to everything will be down in the description below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Peace.